Okay, so I issued my order to the tanks. I either made them retreat or I, missed them, whatever. After you do your turn, which is the issuing the orders, movement, attacking, I've done that with all of my units, so you then discard that card and you draw one more. And you can look at it. However, Recon lets me draw two, but I have to discard one of them. So I drew both of these. Because of the Recon, I drew two. I can go, okay, so Pro, issue 2 orders to the left, or Attack, issue 3 orders to the center. Let's see, I'd probably rather have this one, so I'm going to discard this one. So boom, because of Recon, I got to choose the better of the two. So that's how the basic battle works. For infantry, again, it's 3, 2, 1. For artillery, think of them as twice as good as the infantry. They battle at 3, 3, 2, 2, 1, 1, if there were that many. So artillery way back here could still go 3, 3, 2, 2, 1, 1. So even way back here they'd be able to attack some of these dudes. Now this one can easily attack any of these guys. So 3, 3, 2, 2, and then 1. So these artillery could attack this guy way over here, even though blocks line of sight. Artillery shoot above, so they could hit any of these guys actually. But for these guys, they'd only roll 1 dice. For these, they'd roll 2. So of course, hey, let's roll 2. But sometimes you'd want to attack the guys behind it. I got a tank and a retreat. So I should have just explained the retreat now. So it would have been a miss and a retreat. They can't retreat. They would lose a dude. Tanks, I'm just going to go ahead and explain them. Tanks have a range of 3. 1, 2, 3. They roll 3 dice every single time. Distance does not matter for them, except that they only can go. So basically it's 3, 3, 3. Instead of infantry going 3, 2, 1, tanks are 3, 3, 3. But line of sight rules still apply. Artillery are the only ones that can shoot above. Everyone else, they still have to shoot through. So hills block line of sight, forests block line of sight, cities block line of sight. It'll say on there. Yeah. So over here on the Allies side, let's just say Axis completely missed, even though they totally killed some guys. So the Allies have assault. What's this? Issue an order to all units on the left flank. So if you used that card, you'd be able to move all of these guys forward and attack. Probe, it's like 2. Recon is a special one, and that's why I want to explain it. Issue an order to 1 unit on the right flank. When drawing a new command card, draw 2, choose 1, and discard the other. That means, now normally on a turn you would use a card, so let's say we used Recon. So I'm using Recon. I'm issuing an order to 1 unit on this flank. I'm going to choose the tanks. Which, by the way, again, I'm choosing a map that's a little bit more complicated. Normally you don't have to worry about all these rules, but beaches, maximum movement onto beaches is 2 hexes. So normally, oh, I never explained the movement. With movement, tanks can move 3 and still battle. Infantry can move 1 and still battle, or move twice and not battle. I kind of explained it, but I didn't explain the tanks. And then the artillery are they either move or they battle. That's it. So if you were to say, okay, Recon, issue an order to the tanks. 1, 2. Normally they could move 3, but beaches, they clog up the wheels and everything, so they can only move that much. However, they can still battle. So they could attack that guy or that guy. Or actually that guy. It's middle to the hex to middle of the hex. Yeah, and everyone else would be out of range anyway. But even if the tanks were right here, they would not be able to shoot those dudes, because not only do these units block line of sight, but so do the hills. So let's say the tanks were wanting to shoot these dudes. They'd take their dice. As I said earlier, armor, which it's better just to call them armor instead of tanks, because it's anything that talks about armor, that's what they're talking about. So they roll 3, right? But these guys are on hills, and that guy's even in a bunker. What's the rules about that? You just always check these. On the very bottom, see there it says infantry -1, tanks -1? That means this unit shooting anyone into the hills will get a -1. So the tanks get a -1 to hit them, infantry get a -1 to hit them. Artillery still roll like normal. And it's important to realize it's talking about who's doing the dice rolling, because towns and villages, if I had an infantry attack, if I had some guys right here attacking these guys in the village, my men would get 1 less dice than normal, whereas tanks would get 2 less dice than normal. Basically, tanks shooting into a village, they're probably hitting buildings and stuff instead of hitting actual men, whereas in the open ground they're a lot better. So these guys shooting those dudes, normally it's 3. Hills give you a -1 for tanks, so you'd only roll with 2. And I got a miss and a retreat, so none of them die, but they have to retreat to either here or here. Now, what about these guys in the bunker? Bunkers have their own rules as well. Bunkers are pretty special. They block line of sight. The infantry may move in and battle. Now that means if some infantry were, like if we had rolled the retreat for these guys and they had left, they can come in and still battle. Sometimes forests and hedgerows, if you move into them, you may not battle that turn. So moving into them gives you some defenses, which is good, but they can't battle that turn. However, bunkers are impassable by armor and artillery, meaning this armor would not be able to move into that bunker. It kind of makes sense if you think about it. The bunkers only protect the original owner's units. Because these think of the bunkers as they're specifically facing towards the beach. So if I move some infantry in there, I do not get a defense bonus against these other guys shooting against me, because let's just say the back is totally open. Also, occupant may ignore first flag. Now hedgerows also say this, and sandbags also say this. What it means is a retreat is a flag. So really, to be honest, if I had rolled this exact same dice on these guys, they can ignore that first flag. So boom, they ignore it, they don't have to retreat. However, it's only the first flag. Had they rolled 2 flags, they can ignore one of them. Now, it's their choice, by the way. They can choose to ignore it and get out of there, because sometimes I've chosen to ignore to go ahead and do it because I was surrounded. So you can ignore the first flag, but you must do any more if there are. Even if there's 3, you have to do all 3. So ignore the first flag, do the second, they retreat 1. Probably into the hills instead of into the open ground, because on the hills they still have a defense bonus kind of a deal. I'm now going to explain just a couple other random things, just to make it more simple. Sandbags, they are not on this particular map, but they're on lots of other maps. They say occupant may ignore first flag, similar to the bunkers. So if you are on a sandbag, you can ignore the first retreat. You don't have to retreat. Men and tanks get a -1 to hit you, which, by the way, I forgot to mention. It says it on there, but on the bunkers, infantry trying to attack you in the bunkers get a -1. Armor get a -2. So actually, these guys attacking here would get 2 less dice instead of just 1 less. Oh, and here's something else that's important. Defense bonuses don't stack. What I mean by that is, the bunkers give these tanks a -2. So really, these tanks, if they were attacking these guys, they don't have a bunker, but it is a hill, so they get -1 because of the hill. These guys are in a bunker and on a hill. The hills are a -1, the bunkers a -2. But you only do the higher one, so the bunker is a -2 for armor, so they get a -2. If I had infantry attacking these guys, they'd get a -1 because the bunker's a -1, and so are the hills. So it's just the better of the two. They're exactly the same. So you would just do the -1. I hope that makes sense. Tanks shooting into bunkers, I mean, you would just hit the bunker instead of the men, whereas men probably would do a little bit better of a job. Anyway, back to sandbags. Sorry. They ignore the first flag if they want to. May ignore. Wording is important. May means you can, must, you have to. If occupant leaves, remove sandbag. So as they leave, the sandbag is destroyed. So you just take it off and put it off to the side. For this particular map, it has wires. Units moving in must stop. Must instead of may. So you had some infantry moving into the wire. Even though it's like, oh, let's say we had infantry here. Normally they could go move 1 and attack, or move 1, 2. No, they move into the wire, they have to stop. It's too much in the way. Now in the wire, infantry battles out at -1 dice, meaning if there are infantry here, no matter who they're attacking, they get 1 less dice than normal, because battling in this wire is really difficult to do. Now, by the way, if you had a weird situation where infantry were here and they were attacking them, that is the only time it would be -1 because of the wire and -1 because of the hill. Wires are, I think, the only thing that they kind of battle out bad. Tanks battle out of villages kind of badly, I think, too. Infantry may remove wire instead of battling. So if let's say infantry started their turn here, and you're issuing an order to the infantry there, you can either go ahead and move out, just like normal. It's only when you move in that you have to stop. Or they can spend their entire... they can move out like normal. Let's say the infantry moved in. Instead of battling these guys, they can choose to instead remove the wire from the board. Armor removes wire and may still battle. So armor are awesome when it comes to wires. They can move right into it and it automatically leaves the moment they move into it. So these armor, you probably want to go boom boom and just destroy it. By the way, it's important to note, I talked about the different dice that destroy stuff. You may notice there was no artillery dice. Artillery are really, really, really hard to kill. You can really only... Technically, you can only kill them if you get a grenade, which kills anything. You could kill them on a flag if they could not retreat. However, these guys are in bunkers, so they can ignore the first flag. But let's just say, for whatever reason, the Axis had dudes here, and these guys got 2 retreats. They can ignore the first one, but the second one they have to retreat. Oh no, they can't retreat. They would lose a dude. Normally, you can only kill them with grenades, but it is possible to kill anything with enough retreats. Hedgerows are the last thing. Hedgehogs, I'm sorry, these are hedgehogs. Hedgerows are other terrain. Infantry may move in or through and battle, so in other words, hedgehogs do not really hurt men. They can move right through them as if it's no big deal. Impassable by armor and artillery. So these guys cannot move into here. That's their whole point. They are anti-tank. There's no way they can get through that. Infantry in hedgehogs may ignore first flag. So infantry being in there, they can kind of take cover behind the hedgehogs. So they don't get any extra defense dice. They don't remove dice or anything, but they can ignore the first flag.